Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here with my WWE Old School Raw review for this Monday evening, January the 6th, 2014. Of course, the first Raw of the new year, and also my first Raw review for the new year. First Raw review in a couple of weeks, and I've not been able to watch Raw because of my gigs at Jefferson Street Pub. Able to watch it tonight. Of all Raws be able to watch tonight because of no gig at Jefferson Street Pub. This was the one to watch. We have the first two participants for the Royal Rumble match announced. Plus a lot of old school guys coming back, especially one guy in the end. That could be another participant, a third participant in the Royal Rumble could be named tonight because a man that I've been hearing rumors that could be in the Royal Rumble this year kind of came back tonight as part of Old School Raw. And it was a cool little way, cool little comeback. As many other comebacks, a lot of cool moments. I marked a lot tonight, doing a lot of returns of some of the cool legends that came back tonight on Raw tonight in this Old School Raw. So it was a very fun Raw, very entertaining Raw, especially with the old school guys, Hall of Fame and legends, marked out, like I said. Now, we would kick off with a legend. A Hall of Famer, Ric Flair, would kick off Raw tonight. Talking about being on Old School Raw, being happy to be there. Being, of course, multi-time, 16-time world champion, and respecting all the current guys as well. But, of course, one of the current guys would indeed interrupt them. But not just a current WWE guy. A current WWE guy has a lot of history with Ric Flair. Former member of Evolution, and of course the current WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Randy Orton. Well, they were kind of cordial at first, as Orton would have Rick step aside as Orton would kind of complain about his upcoming rematch with John Cena for that WWE World Heavyweight Championship at the Royal Rumble. About not being full by the authority. I think Orton and authority's been having their problems in the late. Orton's not being held as the guy anymore. He's not having anybody have his back anymore. Like the authorities, against him now. So it's kind of weird. Like in the beginning, authority basically helped Orton be the champion by screwing D-By over. It may have led him to join the Wyatts, but so nice, weird to see the authority against Orton. So as Orton was complaining about his whole match with Cena, in indeed calling himself the man. Of course, Ric Flair took a little bit of offense to it, because he called himself the man. And he said, Orton, you might call yourself the man now. These belts may say you're the man. Indeed, I am forever the man. Woo, whatever. That little standoff. Orton even said Flair was overrated. I know that Orton's saying that storyline-wise, but it's still kind of weird to see Orton say that to a guy, Flair, Evolution. Like I said, cold drip first, but it kind of broke down. And Orton was prepared to say what? Go old school on Ric Flair's ass. But just before he would have beat up on Flair, here comes Hulk Hogan. I mean, Super Cena. Cena, Hulk Hogan, same thing. Cena is the Hulk Hogan of WWE these days. Anywho, Cena basically saved Flair from an Orton butt whipping. And of course, John Cena's like, Orton, you want to fight? Fight me, man. Before the Rumble, bring it on. But Orton would escape before getting involved in an altercation with Cena before their match at Royal Rumble. I'm fearing Cena's going to win that Royal Rumble. I thought he was going to win at TLC. So I may be happy and surprised that Cena did lose at TLC. But I think since, WrestleMania is coming up, Cena could end up winning the championship again. Unless he's supposed to be rumored to feud against Bray Wyatt. I don't think Bray Wyatt, if Cena does win, I don't think Bray Wyatt deserves to be WWE World Heavyweight Champion. That's why I think Cena should not win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, especially if they let Cena feud against Bray Wyatt. That's what I've been hearing lately. Because I don't want Bray Wyatt to be WWE Champion. Nor do I want Cena to be champion again. I want D-By to be champion again. Hopefully, if he breaks the chains from being a Wyatt member, which he, of course, joined last week. And he'll make his official Wyatt Family debut as he would team up with Ward and Harper in a 6-person tag. Because remember, D-By shirt still loyal, even though he's Daniel Wyatt now. Of course, teaming up with his newfound members of the Wyatt family against the Usos. We would see that Bobby Rikishi get down later on with a Too Cool reunion, which was pretty damn cool. One of my favorite moments of Raw. Of course, Usos teaming up with Rey Mysterio in a 6-man tag. Not a lot of D-By in the matchup. That was my only quip. That it was D-By's debut. He beat up on Rey Mysterio a little bit, and also beat up on Jey Uso. But not a lot of D-By in the match. Making his debut. He did the leg kicks. The crowd, D-By's a heel now, along with the Wyatts. They did still do the yes when he did the leg kicks, but mostly Harper and Ward would just dominate on Jey Uso until Jimmy would get the hot tag and dominate. But a little utter miscommunication between Levi and Harper would kind of bug the Wyatts in this matchup. I think I predicted on my attack line that Tech Sports today. I think Levi should eventually turn on the Wyatts. I think he will line himself with Wyatts for a few weeks, then turn on them. Maybe before WrestleMania. And the seeds for maybe Bryan eventually turning on maybe led in this planet in this matchup when he blind tagged himself in on Warren, and then Harper blind tagged himself in on Levi. That miscommunication between Harper and Levi would kind of cost Wyatts the matchup, as Harper would get walled up by Jimmy Uso, who I think bounced the wall up a little bit. I think he miscalculated the wall up, mishooked one of the legs, and a 1-2-3 victory for the Wyatts and Mysterio nonetheless, besides that little bounce there from Jimmy Uso. So there you go. And of course, Harper, Levi had a little problems. Bray was disappointed about the way Levi debuted with a loss. And Bryan wants to redeem himself because he wants to learn and teach at the same time and wants to contribute, he said, to the Wyatt family. So he wants to redeem himself by teaming up with Bray Wyatt next week against the Usos in a good old 2-on-2 tag team affair. See how that goes. But like I said, I think Levi should turn on the heels. Should turn on the Wyatts and one. That's my thing. It'll come down. I don't know how long it'll take, but Levi will turn on the Wyatts. I don't know if it'll take a month or it'll take 2 months. Levi will be good again. That's my thing. But I do almost agree with the way he joined the Wyatts, but because Machine brought him down. You know, Triple H and the Authority held him down. Like the Clash always said, Daniel Bryan fought the law, and the law won. You know, the Authority won. So Levi may have conceded and joined the Wyatts, but we'll see how that goes. And like I said, I hope he turns against them whenever it comes. I don't know. But I hope it does happen. Now, on with our next matchup involving E Langston and the man he beat for the Intercontinental Championship, Curtis Axel. Too bad his dad wasn't alive. If his dad was alive, he would have been involved in Old School Water Night. Rest in peace to you, Mr. Puck. Of course, Goldberg. Of course, Curtis Axel's tag team partner would be at ringside commentating over this matchup between Big E and Curtis Axel. Of course, Mr. Big E Langston's been champion for about, 2 months now, since before Survivor Series. And he basically came in with a Fury, with his great offensive Fury, with an early onslaught on Axel. Axel did come back, though, with his little power moves. But one big clothesline from Big E set up the big ending, the big 1-2-3 victory for Big E Langston. His little decent little squashy match. Now, I think Ryback could be the next in line for the IC Championship. The way he eyed Big E during the matchup, and the way Big E eyed him after the match, could be seeds planted for a possible match between Ryback and Big E. Maybe at the Rumble for the championship, possibly. So, anyway, Big E, I've said this before, I think he's grown into being a face. He was an okay bad guy, but was a decent as a face now. So it's good to see him as face, and I think fans are going to love him. And he's a pretty good baby face. Kind of like an Ahmed Johnson type baby face. But it's a good comparison. Especially since Ahmed Johnson was IC champion as well. So there you go. Now, like I said, Old School Water Night. A lot of Old School guys were there. Good to see them. When Big E went to the ring, he bumped in the backstage to DiBiase Sr., Rio Diamond, iOS, and Nikolai Volkov. They all look great, man. All the old timers, all the old school guys, the alumni, the legends, Hall of Famers, what may you call them, looked great. Including, of course, Roddy Piper, who the Piper's Pit. But before we get to that, Jerry King Lawler wasn't on commentary tonight. He was backstage. He went to the hospital for some stomach virus, but he was taken backstage. So it's kind of weird he wasn't on commentary, though. Anyway, like I said, Piper's Pit was next. Roddy Piper will conduct an interview with The Shield. Of course, there's been a little bit of dissension with The Shield. I think it started at TLC after Roman inadvertently cost The Shield the 3-on-1 handicap match against Punk when he accidentally speared Ambrose. So, and Piper put up a big question, kind of stirring the pot of tension between The Shield, talking about Roman Reigns about his match tonight against CM Punk, saying that Rollins couldn't beat Punk, Ambrose couldn't beat Punk. So if you could beat Punk tonight, Roman Reigns, would you say that you would become the best member of The Shield since you're the only one that could beat CM Punk? And the other guys were like talking down and Piper saying, hey, we're a group and we're a good victory for The Shield and whatever. Even Roman Reigns said that we're still a team and you ain't gonna still us up, Piper. You're gonna show the cracks, get in our faces about these cracks are showing. Well, they're gonna beat up on Piper like Orton was trying to do to Flair. But like Cena did, saving Flair from an own butt whipping, CM Punk would come save Piper from a sheer butt whipping, but he fought some friends with him. The Road Dogg, Jesse James, and the Badass, Billy Gunn, the new Age Outlaws taking them down. Now, I thought it was going to be a good segue for at least a tag match between New Age Outlaws and Reigns, his friends, Rollins and Ambrose. But at least New Age Outlaws would accompany Punk in the match against Roman Reigns, as of course a little bit of security policy. So there you go. Nice to see New Age Outlaws, one of my favorite tag teams of the old school days, besides Too Cool. Now, our next matchup, Hunico. Sin Cara. That's who he is now. It's kind of weird to have a new guy playing him, but hey, he's done a good job playing him, Sin Cara would take on a man he's beaten, not once but twice. Ambrose Del Rio's been down on a slope lately. But Del Rio would eventually bounce back in this match, despite Sin Cara's great offense, great high-flying maneuvers. But Del Rio got the big insecurity kick would be the one that nailed him. I think Del Rio carried the match though, Del Rio would get involved, get the offensive advantage in the matchup, beating up on Sin Cara to, of course, like I said, Sin Cara was trying for his big high-flying moves. So like I said, that one big insecurity kick from Del Rio would seal the deal. I thought I was going to set up for the cross-arm breaker, but the pin and the win. So Del Rio finally beats Sin Cara. Could be his way back. He could bounce back after losing. Since losing the Cena has been downward spiral for him since losing the World Championship before it, of course, came the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So, like I said, 2 names to be announced for the Royal Rumble match. The returning Batista, of course, returning on Raw in 2 weeks. He was the first name announced for the Royal Rumble. And then Alberto Del Rio is also going to be in the Royal Rumble. 2 former Royal Rumble winners have been confirmed for the Royal Rumble match. And Del Rio's gunning for Batista. Maybe a feud could start between these two. Who knows? Because these two wants to be back in the World title picture. The WWE World title picture. Now, in our next matchup, a tag team affair involving the Real Americans, We the People, taking on the tag team champions, non-title, Cody Rhodes and Goldust. And I want Real Americans to be tag team champions. The characters are anti-American, but I love the tag team style. And I've always said this about these two guys on my other Raw reviews. I've been applauding these two guys' teamwork. And Zeb Cole is kind of a goofy character, especially his sign tonight. The best defense is a fence. That was kind of a funny sign. And the sneak free zone on the other side was kind of a funny sign too. So it was a great tag team match between these two teams. These two teams have fought many times before in the last couple of weeks. They've been feuding over the championships. And nice to see these two face off again, maybe for the titles eventually again. Maybe at the Rumble, but we'll see. But it's pissed off. I'm kind of PO they made the Cesaro swing be on the app. That was kind of stupid. A lot of things were on the app tonight that weren't on air. Anywho, like I said, great team up for the Brotherhood. I like those two. They're great tag team. They're the tag champs, so it doesn't be champs. But I think Real America should be next in line to get the shot and be champs. So, but as Brotherhood was taking over with some great moves, of course, Goldust looking good. Old school guy as well, Goldust. Well, of course, like I said, the Real Americans would indeed take over the big uppercuts, big double team moves. And of course, Swagger would eventually nail in the Patriot lock or Patriot act on Cody. Cody's trying to block it a few times. And then Cesaro would come in. I think Goldust blocked the hold. He came in and attacked Swagger, breaking the hold of the Patriot lock. And of course, Goldust would come in and of course deliver the final cut, his big finishing move, and a 1-2-3 victory for the Brotherhood. It's a decent little tag team match, great little tag team match between these two teams. I hope that Real Americans would want. I think Real Americans have gone for the tag team titles before and lost. But I hope if they do go for the titles again, I hope they win. Because like I said, they got great teamwork right now. They show great potential in the past, and they show it every week. They have great chemistry together. Swagger and Cesaro, I've always said about Cesaro, teaming up with Swagger has been the best thing for his career thus far. Ever since he got rid of the yodeling, ever since losing the U.S. Championship last year. So it is the best thing. And you heard a lot of Weird People chants tonight. Speaking of, I've seen a lot tonight. A lot of old school guys. And I kind of knew what they were doing when we saw Booker T talk yoga with DDP. I knew the setup. when DDP was doing his hold, I was like, I smell a damn moment coming on, and I called it right on the freaking money that it was a damn moment. Ron Simmons came in and announced one. On the next matchup, Great Khali being accompanied by Wanjin Singh. We all go in real old school tonight with Khali being his old handler, Wanjin Singh. That was kind of funny to see. Cool to see him. Taking on in a rematch from last week, Damien Sandow. The referees did not see Khali's elbows not on the ground, not on the canvas. So we decided to pick a legend referee the fans would choose from the WWE app. The choices were Bob Backlund, Arn Anderson, or the eventual winner, Sergeant Slaughter. I would have liked either Slaughter or Anderson. I voted for Slaughter, but I would have loved Arn Anderson though. So you would have Sergeant Slaughter as your referee in his matchup against Khali and Sandow. Sandow tried to go for his move. Perhaps it's kind of a short match, and kind of a silly match, as Khali, doesn't wrestle much at all, but used his big high in-weight advantage to his advantage with a big Khali chop. It just destroyed Sandow, furthering demoting Sandow. I think Sandow was a big breakout star last year. He almost had the World Heavyweight Championship won, but I think he and along with Ziggler could be demoted big time. I hope that they could get over this mid-card hump and try to become champs again, or at least for Ziggler be champ again, and for Sandow be back and being championship potential, but they could be held down once again by the Authority. So that's stupid. And after Khali got a little victory, and once again for the second week in a row, screwy little referee, I think there's like a new storyline of Sandow. Sandow getting a win over Khali last week, but the referee didn't see Khali's elbows weren't on the ground. And then this week, Khali got the victory, but the referee Slaughter did not see Sandow's foot on the rope. Could be like a little storyline building with Sandow against screwy little referees, screwing him over. So could be that storyline going on. And Khali got a little dancing on with Sergeant Slaughter. So there you go with that. Now we're in the next little segment involving the young man. He is the young man. He is the Paulus. Cuckoo, cuckoo, goes Paul Heyman. Leading along with him, the Beast, Brock Lesnar. Here comes the pain indeed. He even did the old pyro entrance again. That was kind of cool. Talking about how Brock Lesnar defies old schools, not honoring legends. It's about calling out the top dog in the company. But when Bruno Sammartino was the top dog, everyone was gunning for Bruno. That's old school. Everyone was gunning for Hulk Hogan when Hulk Hogan was the man. Same with Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's old school. Because Brock Lesnar was calling himself the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's kind of weird that Lesnar's condemned a part-timer. Hey, they gave the championship to Rock. Why not give the belt to Brock Lesnar if they want to give it to the Rock? Maybe Batista too, but still. Brock Lesnar wants to be the #1 contender. If Brock Lesnar would take on Orton, I'd rather Brock Lesnar take on Cena. That's the only good reason. The only good thing if Cena does win against Orton at Royal Rumble, hope he faces Lesnar again and get his ass ripped. Because Lesnar has beat up Cena before, but unfortunately Super Cena won against Lesnar 2 years ago at Extreme Rules. So, as Heyman and Lesnar was talking about, specifically Heyman speaking for Lesnar, talking about, Lesnar challenging whoever wins the championship. He wants to go for another one, the championship. Here comes Mark Henry wanting revenge after what happened to him last week and he was ass ripped by Lesnar, trying to avenge being speared against the ring barricade and being at by him on the floor. Whereas Henry was trying to beat up on Lesnar, Lesnar would have the last word, turning Mark Henry to Kimura lock, breaking Mark Henry's arm like he did to Triple H. Then Big Show came out. Now, Big Show and Brock Lesnar have feuded before during Brock Lesnar's first endeavor in the WWE back in 2002 at Survivor Series, and of course at SmackDown 03 when the ring collapsed. So these two are no strangers to each other. So these two could do a feud again. But Lesnar was trying to escape, trying to avoid the Big Show at first, but they were a little help from Paul Heyman distracting him. Lesnar was trying to go for one on Big Show. Big Show thwarted that, beating up on Lesnar and tossing him halfway across the ring like a rag doll to end the segment. So it's kind of weird to see Big Show and Lesnar feud again, and Big Show getting leverage. And Big Show has beat Lesnar before, with the help of Paul Heyman turning his back on Lesnar the first time back in 2002. But still, you see how these two develop into a little feud. Maybe it could sense towards Lesnar being in the Rumble himself. That's what I think could lead up to. Lesnar being in the Rumble, so were Big Show and Mark Henry. And I know those three will eventually get along with one another. In the ring, that is. Now, with our obligatory Divas match. I wish I could say it would be Lita and Trish teaming up, but hey, it's all good. We got the Ego Twins. I mean, the Bella Twins. That's why I put up. They got big egos. Bella Twins not allowing anybody to join them. That's why maybe their egos would not let the Old School Divas show up. Although I heard Mae Young was ill. Anyway, Bella Twins would team up against Oksana and Alicia Fox. Nikki, little shin injury, got involved when her shin got broke and left Brie all alone. Got storyline distracted by her fiance D-Bry joined the Wyatt thing. She was trying to beat up Oksana, but Oksana would get the pin in the win. Typical little Divas match. Just obligatory bathroom break. And not wanting to miss any more Legends appearances. Let's move on. Speaking of not missing any great Legends appearances. On with our next little moment with the return of the Job Squad. I mean, free him be. Heath Slater was gone for a few weeks after, having his own issues, from what I've read. He came back tonight, and he came back against Rikishi. We got a stink face one before. But Rikishi would indeed be joined by his buddies from Too Cool, Scotty Too Hotty, and Grandmaster Sexy. It was great to see these three reunited again. It's the first time in years. I think they all white. It's been the first time in about 13 years that these three have teamed up together on television. It was kind of cool to see that again. And 3MB, they actually looked kind of good in this matchup. I'll give them credit. They looked kind of good in this matchup. They did have the advantage, but indeed, we did see vintage Too Cool. But of course, Sky Too High delivering the bomb. And Grandmaster Sexy, I was hoping he was going to put on those flying shirts, which he did. We didn't see a stink face, though. That was the only disappointment. We didn't see a stink face. TUPG and all. Yet you could say ass, but you wouldn't see anybody getting a little face of ass from Rikishi, stink face. But we didn't see the big drop from Rikishi wearing his Uso son t-shirt in a big victory for Too Cool. They look great, man. They all look great. But Sketchard looked weird. He's clean shaven now. He's got short hair. It looked kind of weird. Can't even recognize him at first. But still, he looked great. So the Sky Too Hotty, his tag team partners, Brian Christopher, aka Grandmaster Sexy, aka Jerry Law's son, and of course, Rikishi. They haven't aged a bit, especially Rikishi. So they got down, the dancing in the end. That was kind of cool. They did a little dancing in the end. And then all the matches came out besides the Outlaws. We even saw the Godfather. Speaking of TVPG, probably wasn't on to say, it's time once again for everybody to come aboard the whole train. He led a train away of superstars, but not the whole train. It would be funny. He was a whole train. Pimpin' ain't easy. See, can't see Godfather in there. And Papa Shango as well. Now on to our main event. Before that, Bad News Barrett would come in and interrupt. I haven't seen Bad News Barrett segments lately with sound, like I said, with my ball gigs, but still, interesting to see this whole Bad News Barrett thing. Now, in the next matchup, the main event, CM Punk against Roman Reigns. Of course, Roman Reigns will bring his friends, of course, Rollins and Ambrose, and the New Age Outlaws would accompany Punk. And of course, Punk would come in with his big moves, big high-powered moves, but of course, Reigns would come back. And it was a decent main event tonight. Roman Reigns, I've been sensing it since Survivor Series, since he was the last man standing. They've been sensing a little push with him since he was a sole survivor. He looked pretty good tonight against Punk. Of course, Shields and New Age Outlaws were getting on at ringside. Of course, I think we all knew that was going to come to fruition, that these two were going to break it down and face off in the ring and stuff. Face off outside the ring. Knew some altercation was going to break down. And there was a decent little spot in this matchup involving a Superman punch. Roman Reigns tried a couple times for a Superman punch. He was setting it up after nailing Punk some big moves. Going for a Superman punch, and then Punk nailed him with a big kick. So that was a cool little spot there. And then Punk would come in with a big flying move. That would eventually seal the deal for the ending of the matchup. Like Neil falls after Punk delivered the elbow. These are little actions for these guys. Great action for our little main event there. And then Roman was setting up for the spear. And then Punk dunked it. And like I said, Punk went up for a big fly move. And then After that, he got distracted by Ambrose again, as Punk was setting up for the GTS. He got distracted by Ambrose, ran into a spear, and a 1-2 big victory for Roman Reigns. That's right, Roman Reigns did end up being CM Punk, with a little help from Ambrose, of course. Does that mean Reigns is better than Rollins and Ambrose? And it could really push up, plant the seed of Roman Reigns' big turn as a face, as himself, and turn against the Shield. Who knows how that will turn out? But besides Too Cool being one of my favorite coolest moments and my walkout moment, one of my other coolest moments came up at the end of this matchup. I've been hearing rumors about a certain man showing up on Raw tonight. A man who said on many interviews I've read that he could end up being in the 2014 Royal Rumble, where that could come true, as we would see Jake the Snake motherfucking Roberts show up. Hey, DDP's there. So a man who's been teaching and trying to get better would show up, and that would be Jake the Snake Roberts. Man, he looked awesome tonight. He looked great. Short hair, he looked great. And it would set up the Shield to get back in the ring and get their asses beat by CM Punk and the New Age Outlaws. I was hoping Jake was going to do the DDT. But it's at least as good as the DDT. Put the snake on Ambrose. And is it just me, or did you notice when they had a camera on Ambrose, Ambrose was smiling. His eyes was closed, but his kind of a little smile. That was kind of creepy, with that little smile that came on. Because like Ambrose was like this, eyes closed and his lip was smiling. It's kind of weird and creepy to see that. But it was a cool little spot that end while Jake the Snake Roberts is back. And I've been reading that Jake the Snake could be at this year's Royal Rumble, where the seed could be planted for Jake the Snake to indeed be at the 2014 Royal Rumble match. Nice to see Jake back. The thing is, his first appearance on Raw in almost 9 years since the highlight reel of Jericho when Old Challenge Takeover Mania. So nice to see Jake the Snake, man. Hope it's not the last we've seen him. And it's nice to see him back, man. Cool to see Jake back and healthy again, sober. From what I read in his yoga of DDP. Nice to see Jake back in WWE. I was happy that Jake came back tonight. I was hoping he was. So happy. Could be planning for the Royal Rumble for sure. So there you go. That's it for my WWE Old School review for tonight. I'll see you all later. With that in mind, you've all been attacked by the first Raw review of the year from Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. See you all later, everybody. Yes.